welcome to The Gospel Road. We are going to be looking at Mark 8 today. Thank you for listening. Be sure, though, to find The Gospel Road. It is on Apple Podcast. It's on the Google Play. You can find it many different places, including YouTube under My Buddy Jimmy 101. It's on iHeartRadio. It's on Spotify. Again, many places that you can actually find The Gospel Road. You could submit it. Not submit, but you could actually share it with others if you find one that you like. And you could subscribe as well. And then that way, every time there is a new show, you can hear it at your convenience. And, of course, always check out mybuddyjimmy.com because I post them on there as well. Mark 8 is what we're going to look at today. Hopefully you had a good day back after a long weekend. Not too bad for you. I know it is a little warm around here, so it is going to be a hot week. But hopefully you've got a good one coming, even though we've got a long week to deal with to make it through. But we will do it. That's right. All right, Mark 8. It says, in those days, when again a great crowd had gathered, and they had nothing to eat, he called his disciples to him and said to them, I have compassion of the crowd, because they have been with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. And if I send them away hungry to their homes, they will faint on the way. And some of them have come from far away. As his disciples answered him, how can one feed these people with bread here in this desolate place? And he asked them, how many loaves do you have? And they said 7. And he directed the crowd to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to the disciples to set before the people. And they set them before the crowd. And they had a few small fish, and having blessed them, he said that these also should be set before them. And they ate and were satisfied. And they took up the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. And there were about 4,000 people. And he sent them away, and immediately he got into the boat with the disciples and went to the district of Dalmathua. The Pharisees came and began to argue with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven to test him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit and said, why does this generation seek a sign? Truly, I say to you, no sign will be given to this generation. And he left them, got into the boat again, and went to the other side. Now they had forgotten to bring bread, and they had only 1 loaf with them in the boat. And he cautioned them, saying, watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And they began discussing with one another the fact that they had no bread. And Jesus, aware of this, said to them, why are you discussing the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, and how many baskets full of broken pieces did you take up? They said to him, 12. And the 7 for the 4,000. How many baskets full of broken pieces did you take up? And they said to him, 7. And he said to them, do you not yet understand? And they came to Bethesda, and some people brought him a blind man and begged him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village. And when he spit on his eyes and laid his hands on them, he asked him, do you see anything? And he looked up and said, I see people, but they look like trees walking. Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he opened his eyes, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. And he sent him to his home, saying, do not even enter the village. And Jesus went on with the disciples to the village of Caesarea Philippi. And on the way he asked his disciples, who do you people say that I am? And they told him, John the Baptist, and others say Elijah, and others one of the prophets. And he asked them, but who do you say that I am? Peter answered him, you are the Christ. And he strictly charged them to tell no one about him. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he said this plainly, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man." And calling the crowd to him with his disciples, he said to him, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? For what can a man give in return for his soul? For whoever is ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him with the Son of Man also be ashamed when it comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." Mark 8 is what we are looking at. Those of you that know the stories, Jesus fed the 5,000. Well, this one, Jesus fed the 4,000. That was something that I learned that I didn't until I actually started reading the Bible. Because growing up in church, they always talk about feeding the 5,000. But for some reason, they don't talk about the second time when he fed the 4,000. I mean, even in here in Mark 8, it talks about both the 5,000 and the 4,000. I mean, this is what I find and this is where I guess we're going to kind of go with the conversation today, is as I actually read through the Bible, and I'm on, I think, number 4 that I'm doing this, and it's something that we should be doing every day, especially if you are a Christian, you believe in God. Again, I never say anyone that listens to this, if you believe or not, that's fine. I mean, you make the choice. But, what I do want to kind of point out when you listen and when you read through these is see the things, no matter what your beliefs are, of how it kind of gives you some very strong pieces to understand how you should focus your life to really better yourself. One of the things that I get, like I said, it talks about feeding the 4,000 here. It's what I have used a lot. In fact, I used this term last week of confirm and verify. You have people telling you things. You have people sharing stories with you. And do you know if they're telling you everything? Do you know if they are sharing all the pieces with that they should be? I mean, we see that in the news every day, and unfortunately, when you deal with the media, and me being in media, I will say this, they pick and choose the pieces they're going to share with you, because they're going to find what is able to be shared that is going to grab people's attention to get ratings. Yeah, it's about ratings. It's a ratings business. It's a money business, because with more ratings, they can then make more money because they can sell more advertising, and they can also raise that rate of advertising. But it then comes our responsibility, my responsibility, your responsibility to verify everything that you hear and read. It also comes down to our responsibility to look at multiple pieces of information to see if we're getting the complete story. Sometimes you even have to look at 2 or 3 stories and put them together to actually get what the actual meaning or what is actually happening. We're dealing with that now when we're looking at the whole coronavirus situation worldwide. And it's like, if you listen and pay attention to how the stories change frequently. They talk out of both sides of their mouth frequently. And again, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, because this is a pandemic that we're not sure how to deal with it. It is changing on a regular basis, but they will say something and then forget that it was ever said and move on. I mean, I remember one of the things that was said early on in this is something we're going to have to learn to live with. It's not going to go away. That was from the beginning. And now you have everyone really making the point of we need to, get rid of this virus by social distancing and staying away from people and wearing masks. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, where originally when they started the whole social distancing piece was because they were concerned about the healthcare system and the hospitals being overrun like had happened in other countries, which it was about flattening the curve. It wasn't getting rid of this. It was trying to slow down the spread so the healthcare system would not be overrun. Where is that even talked about anymore? See, these are the pieces you have to remember when you are learning and understanding something. You have to make sure you really look and dig into that to make sure you are understanding, to make sure you have the knowledge to what's happening. And it's not looking at it, hearing it, and then forgetting about it and pushing it away, and then you don't have it in your mind anymore. I mean, the same thing works when you're trying to go and you're trying to do things at work. When you're trying to do things at home, you're trying to understand, you're trying to fix something. And maybe here's the theory. For whatever reason, that theory isn't working. So now you've got to figure out another way to get this fixed. Like, here's a perfect example. We have these computers at work. They are Windows computers. They are. I mean, most workplaces, that's what they have. Now, we are not on an actual hard network at the station, but it's basically more set up as actual personal computers, PCs, and we just have them talking to one another. Well, because of that, and with the Windows version that we have, be honest, we didn't get the business, the enterprise version of this. So there's a lot of things that we're not able to control. One of those is the computer going to sleep. Yes, the computer going to sleep. There was a update probably within the last year, but it was about a year ago, something like that. There was an update that came through. With that push-through update, we have the screens on Never. We have the drives on Never. You know, it's not to go to sleep. It's not gonna go to the screensaver. None of that. But even with everything set to never do that, it still does. We have looked things up. We've done everything that it tells us to do to fix it, and it does not fix. And we have two computers that are doing this. So again, it's trying to figure out why. Why are you having these issues? So these are the reasons why how you should fix it, but those reasons are not working. So then you have to keep digging. You have to keep looking. See, sometimes that information that's right there on the surface is not the information that you need. You have to dig deeper. You have to look deeper to actually get the understanding, to understand what you are trying to deal with. I mean, I've had it in automation systems at stations that I've worked at in the past where we would have these little ghost things that happen. Why is it putting something in there that shouldn't be there? It was never put in. And they were things that had to be kind of chased down and by process of elimination to figure out why that issue was there and how to fix it. Some of the time, issue was fixed. Some of the time, it was just a ghost in the machine. But it's still understanding what is happening there. So again, it's gathering information. Don't always just take what somebody hands you as all of the information, as gospel truth. Make sure you are verifying the information they're giving you. Make sure that they're giving you all the information that you need, and then be smart about it to put those pieces together. There's so many times I have had to read multiple stories to actually get the actual full story, because everyone grabs their pieces for their articles rather than sharing all of it. You get bits and pieces. Now you have to figure out how to put those together and go, oh, this is how it all comes together. Now I'm connecting the dots. See, that's what life is. Again, life is a journey. Sometimes getting that information, it's a journey. It's not a, there it is, I have it, and I'm done. It's, again, being able to have conversations with people, not arguments, but conversations with people. Just because we do not agree on something does not mean we cannot have an adult conversation about it and try and understand. It doesn't mean we're going to change our mind of the way we think or what we believe, but we can understand where each person is coming from. I mean, heck, you even see it just within churches alone because of the different denominations, and they don't even want to get along with one another. Why? Why is there an issue of just not wanting to get along? I mean, that makes life so much better. And you know what it says? To live in harmony, to live in peace. to love one another, to help one another, to be there, to love your enemy, not ridicule them and bash them, but to build them up, to inspire them, to motivate them, to encourage them, to love them, just like we do anyone else. I mean, we were talking in one of the podcasts the other day with one of the scriptures we were reading, how, even a sinner can love a person they love. See, it's harder to love someone who does not like you. I'll be honest, it's hard to love a person that doesn't like me. And a lot of times when you're trying to deal with it, you just get frustrated and you're not sure how to deal with that. It can really taint your day or the way you think. I'll be honest, there's days I have issues dealing with people because of people. Take your eyes off the people. Again, not easy. I have those days. I just need to go. I need to lock myself away and just be done. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overstimulated. My head is just spinning. And what do? I boot up my computer and start recording and flapping my gums, because that's what I do. I read a story. I record one of these podcasts. I do one of my a new podcast that I just started, just called The Daily Planet, where I'm actually, sharing news every day. I do a Facebook Live trivia, hoping that my internet is going to work so I can do this. But what do you do to decompress, to really wrap that day up, so you're able to really kind of reset yourself, to take that time? Is it reading? Is it listening to music? Is it just sitting there in quiet? How do you take that time for yourself to really separate yourself from the day? Because again, it's a journey, and it will always be a journey, and we always have to do everything we can to learn as much as we can every day. Not as much as we can. I mean, just even learning something new every day, but realizing that we need to grow. Realizing that you cannot take what is given to you at face value. Things are not always black and white, because not all the information is handed to you. You actually have to research. You actually have to pay attention to see what is actually going on, which is where the overwhelmingness, is that a word? We'll make it one. The being overstimulated, that's where that comes in, because there's just so much happening and you're trying to piece it all together. And sometimes you just need a break. Mark 8 is what we looked at today. As I always say, read that for yourself. What does it share with you? What does it say to you to help you get to be that better person, to be better, to help others be better? Remember, it's being better today than yesterday, being better tomorrow than today, always growing to be better, to grow, helping one another, picking them up, not tearing them down, loving them, supporting them, encouraging, inspiring, motivating. Mark 8. Thank you for listening to The Gospel Road. Remember, you can subscribe to however you're listening to this. You can share it with your friends, and I always appreciate that. I am on the Apple Store for podcasts. I'm on Google Play. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Castnet. I'm on YouTube at My Buddy Jimmy 101. Of course, you can always find me on Facebook and Twitter as well. Just look up My Buddy Jimmy. I pretty much do not hide well, is what I tell a lot of people. So even if I tried, it just fails. It doesn't happen. Thank you for listening to The Gospel Road. Have a great day. God bless.